Shortly after I gained the legal ability to drive my car by myself, my parents gave me a 1 million candle power handheld spotlight. Now you have to remember, this is the age before cell phones, so I'm not sure, but I think the idea was that if my car broke down somewhere semi-remote, I could use this as a kind of bat signal to call for help, let people know where I was. Well, I'm not sure, I never, thankfully, had to end up using it that way, but I kept it in my trunk largely because I was impressed with that rating, 1 million candle power. Now, I think there's maybe two ways you could look at this. Well, three, I guess, if you count the marketing department running wild. But there's two other ways, right? One, you could look at the flashlight and you could be really impressed. Wow, this thing could replace 1 million candles. That's incredible. The other way you could look at it is that you could look at candles and think, man, if this flashlight can replace 1 million candles, how weak is one candle? Right? I mean, how much light could that put out? How much difference could one candle possibly make? Well, the answer, as with so many things, depends on the context. If you're outside in broad daylight or if you're inside in a well-lit room, one candle isn't going to make a lot of difference. It's not going to add a whole lot to the overall volume of light. But if you're in a dark room by yourself, or if you're in your own house in the middle of the night and the power goes out, you'd be surprised at the difference one candle can make. Or if for some reason you find yourself hundreds of feet below ground in a mine with no electricity, you'll find that a handful of candles provides enough light for a space the size of our sanctuary. In other words, all light shines brighter in the darkness. If you've been listening, and honestly, even if you've been trying not to listen, you've probably heard many people say that these are dark times, that these are dark days, that 2020 is a dark year. But when I hear that, I don't get discouraged or depressed. In fact, it reminds me that we have a God-given vocation specifically to be a light. We're told this by no one less than Jesus himself in the Sermon on the Mount. In Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 14, he says this. He says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." My encouragement to you today is to lay hold of that vocation. Lean into it right now. In fact, I would like to specifically challenge you to think through the people that God has placed around you and your family. It might be friends, it might be neighbors, it might be coworkers, it might be other people here in the congregation at First Free. Think through those people and ask yourself, who could use a little light right now? And I know we've got restrictions and guidelines. That just means you're going to have to be creative. Figure out a way that you can still be a blessing to those people. Listen, if these are, in fact, dark times, my hope is that means that we, the church, will let our light shine even brighter so that people will see that and will glorify our Father in heaven.